Psychology. Now you must understand that why we are studying psychology. Let's see around the phenomena that happen around us on a day-to-day basis. We try to understand ourselves, we try to understand why certain person is doing certain thing in a defined fashion or so on. So all this comes under the ambit of psychology. We try to know ourselves, know our surroundings, know the people, why people dream in a certain fashion or why people have certain expectations. So let's talk about a good example of HPS Ahluwalia, Mr. Major. So Major General Ahluwalia, he was paralyzed waist down and when he suffered an injury in a war with Pakistan, still then he climbed Mount Everest. Now what was the idea that led him to climb Mount Everest? So what were the things that were going in his mind? So all those are the issues that psychology tries to address. Now when we try to define psychology, so far psychology was considered as an integral branch of philosophy and slowly and gradually it tried to move away from the ambits of philosophy. The initial study of psychology talked about psychology being composed of two words, that is psyche plus logos, that means study of soul or mind. Now this study of soul was later on modified as the study of behavior or experience. Now when we say study of behavior or experience, it was divided into three aspects: study of individual, study of a dyadic behavior, that means interaction between two people, and study of a communication or a kind of community behavior or an organizational behavior where many people are involved. So in simple forms, I can say psychology was an evolution from the study of soul when it was considered as a branch of philosophy to a study of behavior or experience. So that's a kind of very simple way to understand how psychology moved. Now we have psychology which is defined under three studies, that's the mental processes or the study of consciousness and awareness, the study of experiences, how you experience the world, and definitely this is a subjective feeling. So let's say a person who is meditating would have his own experiences than a person who is not. Similarly, a drug addict's experience would be very different from a normal person. So those are the ideas of experiences. The next is behavior. Now behavior is a response or a reaction to any of the activity. This behavior can be defined into two fashions, which is overt and covert. So you can remember this as covert or covered, that means it's internal. So when we say internal behavior is assessed, it is the covert behavior. However, when we say outside behavior is assessed or external behavior is assessed, it is the overt behavior. Similarly, when we are studying psychology, we study brain versus mind. Now when we say brain, we can say that okay, by brain imaging techniques, we can understand what is going in and around the brain. However, when we talk about mind, this has an interaction or experience that is not shared as a part of brain. That means mind works more with interactions and experiences, and this is something that cannot be depicted merely by imaging techniques. So brain imaging can exactly not find out what the mind is going around or what the mind is thinking about. So this mind talks about self-reflection, self-knowledge, remembering, learning, feeling, and so on. So those are the things that we study under mind. Now the first laboratory of psychology was established by Leipzig, by William Wundt, and this was based on introspection. Now the two streams of psychology basically talk about the physical and the biological sciences on one hand and social and the cultural studies on the other hand. So what we try to establish is a kind of cause-effect relationship, or when we would study more about learning, we would say it would be a kind of stimulus-response relationship that we are trying to develop. So we started with psychology as a natural science. This was influenced by discretes and later on by the concepts of physics, where we gave the concept of hypothetico-deductive method. What does this mean? It talks about scientific advancements can take place only if you have a theory that explains it. So for any scientific advancement to take place, you must have a theory. Now what is theory? Theory is a kind of set of statements about a complex phenomena. Once you have a theory, based on this theory you would have a hypothesis. And what is hypothesis? It is a tentative solution to a given problem. So this theory is revised as you have the new data that comes up, and it is different from the hypothesis, which is a tentative solution to the problem that is being assigned to the phenomena. Again, in biological studies, we talk about evolution. So evolutionary approach is another important aspect that we talk about. So that was understanding psychology as a natural science. Coming on to psychology as a social science, we talk about human experiences, human behaviors, interaction with the social environment, and how a person's behavior can change during the time of crisis. So let's say a person who is indulged in a looting could be due to a crisis that he is facing, or due to some other antisocial group that he is exposed to. So there could be various reasons for the same. Now similarly, we have a good example of phantom arm. What does a phantom arm means? A person who has lost his arm, for let's say his arm, but when he sees a cup of coffee, he feels a kind of vibration or a sensitivity there trying to catch that cup of coffee. So that's what is known as the idea of phantom arm. So what is actually working is not his brain, it's his mind, because it's his experience and interactions that are trying to work during that time. Now there are various studies that have shown that positive visualization techniques and positive emotions techniques develop or bring in more developments into the field of psychological studies. Similarly, you have psychoneuroimmunology that emphasizes the role that mind has in strengthening the immunity system or the immune system of the body. Now there are various expressions that could be understood. On one way, there could be a friend who is staying far off. So there are two friends of his. One says that okay, out of sight is out of mind, I don't care where he is. The other friend can say that distance makes the heart grow fonder. That means he is missing his friend because his friend is living far off. So different people can have different kind of emotions attached to it, and this is covered under the ambit of psychology as a social science, not as a natural science. Similarly, you had a very good study by Devick. So what Devick did was, he worked on children divided them into two groups. Now the one was given the easy task, the other was given the hard task. The students who were given the hard task initially failed. So what Devick said them that their failure was attributed only because they did not work hard. And if they would have worked harder, then there would have been no issues. Now what happened during this time is, after training, it was seen that the students who were given easy problems failed at a much faster pace as compared to those given with a hard problem, because they had a good experience both with success and failure, and they were taught to attribute to failure due to lack of the efforts they were producing. So what was the idea that Devick tried to lay down was, the group who was given easy task and who was only trying to have successes in their life failed at a much faster pace as compared to the group who had both success and failure that they had witnessed, and they knew that this failure was because of the lack of efforts. So the evolution of psychology becomes very, very interesting. We have a simple timeline here that showed about how different branches emerged in psychology. Let's understand quickly how this evolution worked around. So the first evolution, the lowest bottom we could say, was the idea of introspection. That's knowing oneself. How do I think? How do I respond to certain behavior? And what I do is not being verified by the world outside me. So this was the philosophy laid by Wundt. Later on, you had the functionalist approach by James, where we said that how behavior functions is something pretty interesting. So it's an ongoing science or a study of behavior or the process of consciousness that could be studied, and this was first done in Cambridge and Massachusetts. So the idea was not to study the structure of mind, but what the mind does and how the behavior functions was the sole idea. So Dewey was another one of the persons who talked about the functionalist approach. It was Gestalt. His idea was, what we do is we experience what we experience is more than the sum of the individual components. So rather than talking about the individual components and sum of those, if we work around on a holistic basis, that gives a complete meaning to the concept, and that was the idea under structuralism. Next to structuralism, what we had was behaviourism. This was laid down by Watson, and Watson focused that we understand more on what is observable and verifiable. So what we can observe and verify is much more important. So later this concept was applied to Skinner. The next was psychoanalysis concept by Freud. He said that what the human behavior is a kind of dynamic manifestation of the unconscious mind that he holds, or the unconscious desires and conflicts that are hidden in the human mind. Next to psychoanalysis was the humanistic approach and then the cognitive approach. Humanistic approach was laid down by Roger and Maslow and talked about the free will of human being. However, the cognitive approach talked about understanding, thinking, memorizing the concepts and receiving the various processes and information. Finally, you had the last stage, which was known as conservatism. It was given by Piaget and Vygotsky. It talked about human beings are continuously constructing their minds by exploration. So Piaget says the child actively constructs his own mind through his own experiences. However, Vygotsky talked about that mind is a kind of joint cultural construction that could be seen, and it's an interaction between culture and an adult. When we talk about the developments of psychology in India, the developments started in Calcutta. It started with the Department of Philosophy in the University of Calcutta in 1915. Later on in 1916, you had a separate department for psychology that was established, and in 1938, you had the Applied Psychology Department. Two major leaders during that time were N.N. Gupta, who was a student of Wundt, and you had G. Bose, who was basically trained in Freudian analysis, and later on he established the Indian Psychoanalytical Association. After the Calcutta department, you had the Mysore and the Patna department, and similarly you had two excellence center for psychology, one at Utkal University in Bhubaneswar and another at University of Allahabad. During that time, Durganand Sinha wrote a book which was known as Psychology in the Third World Country, the Indian Experience, which was published later in 1986, and he talked about the development of psychology in 4 stages. The first was still the independence, where we focused on experiment, psychoanalytical and psychological testing, till 1960s, where we talked about expansion into the various branches of psychology. After 1960s, where we talked about the problem oriented research, and after 1970s, where we talked about Indianization or accepting the Indian sculptures and ancient texts that came from India. Now we have the psychology that is divided into two, the basic psychology and the applied psychology. So under basic psychology, you would study learning, memory, forgetting, the basic fundamental concepts of psychology. However, when we talk about applied psychology, you would study psychology and its application to, let's say, terrorism, gender studies, war, so organizational setup. So all those would be kind of applied psychology, where you are trying to apply the core basic concepts of psychology, and that is what is known as applied psychology. Now, what are the various branches of psychology? There are numerous branches under which we study psychology. So cognitive psychology, as we talked about, talks about understanding and thinking. So when we say psychology basics, we talk about A, B, C. C stands for cognition, A stands for affection, or we also say as conation, then B stands for behavior. So affection, behavior and cognition are the main aspects that we study under the psychology. You have the biological psychology that talks about the behavior and the physical systems, developmental psychology that talks about lifespan from childhood to old age. Social psychology talks about interaction with the social environment, how people think. Cross-cultural psychology talks about understanding the behavior across cultures. So let's say India and America, India, the West and the East, the Orient and the West. So that was the idea during that time. Then you had the environmental psychology. It talks about the human behavior that could be witnessed in a situation of natural disaster or calamity. So population explosion, so all those comes under environmental psychology. Health psychology talks about stress, anxiety and its relation, the symptoms of burnout. Clinical psychology talks about how you could treat the psychological disorders of anxiety and depression. Industrial psychology talks about the psychology at a workplace, so it's a kind of applied psychology again. You have educational psychology, again a branch of applied psychology, where we try to understand the application of psychology in schools, colleges and so on. And then you have sports psychology, where you explain how a sportsman can perform better or how his performance could be enhanced. Then you have few important themes in psychology. The 5 themes in psychology are very important. The first theme talks about, similar to the other branches of science, it explains behavior and mental processes. So as we said, the ABC of psychology, we try to understand the application, the concept and the differential psychology. Then the next is, this behavior is a function of persons and the environment, and this was laid down by Levin, where he said behavior as a function of people and environment. So both people and environment affect the human behavior. So that was the theme 2. Theme 3 talked about the human behavior is casual. So it could be explained in terms of the various causes. Theme 4 talked about the understanding of human behavior, which is culturally constructed. So every person who is in a certain culture has certain sense of behavior mindset that he has, because he is a part of that culture. So his perspective towards the world is different from a person in other culture. And the last theme talked about the human behavior can be controlled and modified by application of various principles that are present in psychology. The next is the various interdisciplinary nature of the branch psychology. So psychology, as we said, has been derived from the mother branch, which is philosophy. So we started with the study of soul and moved to the study of experience and human behavior. It talks about relations with medicine, where psychological counseling could be given in a kind of post-operation phenomena or a person staying in ICU. Talking about economics, we have the economic behavior, where we can predict growth. So 3 Nobel Prize winners talked about the economic behavior, who were Simon Schelling and Kahneman, and recently again you had the economics that talks about human behavior, prediction of human behavior and the economic aspects of those. You have interaction of the groups, social groups, conflicts and socialization under sociology. Computer science talks about sequential and simultaneous processing of information. You have mass communication that talks about understanding the attitude of the people and the story of a common man. Music and fine arts talks about emotions, ragas and the music therapy. Architect and engineering talks about the physical space and the relation to the design. Similarly, when we say psychology at work, we have clinical psychologists who talk about stress at home and work, talk about the psychological remedies. Counseling psychologists mainly for school and career advancements. Community psychology mainly for rehabilitation at old age for geriatric peoples. Then you have school psychologists for administering the test, interpreting the results at the school level. Organizational psychologists who deal with the problems that are faced by the executives, by the employees, and it's a kind of face-to-face interaction, specializing mainly with the HRD or human resource development. So when we talk about the application in a daily life, we say it could be divided at 3 levels. At a personal level, where how you feel and how you try to resist your thoughts to speak out to someone. At a family level, where there is a lack of communication or interaction that could be seen. At a community level, where a group could be threatened by another group. At a national level, where we talk about development of women, or we say empowerment of women, we say protection of environment. So how could the psychological aspects be related at a national level? So with all this, we cover the first lesson on the psychology NCERT class 11th. We will be coming up with more lectures in psychology in the coming days. So stay tuned, do subscribe, have a great day.